So before Gotham Knights and before Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, we were actually going to get a sequel to Batman Arkham Knight, and I wanted to go through what that game would have been and just discuss some of the leaks and what we could have potentially seen from this game and what those original plans were. This isn't a comprehensive list of every leak that came out, but this is pretty much a good idea of what the game was going to be. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you have already heard this, but I do think that it's an interesting refresher to see what we could have gotten in contrast to Gotham Knights. So this game was going to star Damian Wayne, who is the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. The game was rumored to take place 10 years after Batman Arkham Knight, and there were going to be a lot of returning villains from the Arkham games. Penguin was going to come back. Two-Face was going to come back in the form of the Judge, Harvey Dent's third personality, as portrayed in Batman the Animated Series. I believe actually the final episode of Batman the Animated Series. We were also going to get a new iteration of Poison Ivy. We were going to get a new iteration of Black Mask, whose alter ego would actually be a female. We were going to get the White Rabbit. We were going to get the Court of Owls in this game as well. And interestingly, we were also going to get Gorilla Grodd. So this was going to be a very interesting game in terms of Rogues Gallery. There were going to be a lot of villains who were kind of B and C list. The ones that I mentioned aren't the only ones that were leaked. There were actually a huge number of them. And additionally, there was going to be a huge open world map in this game. There has been some concept art leaked of the characters and the map. The map was going to be massive, and it was also going to be very dilapidated. The working title for the game for a while was Arkham Apocalypse, and then that eventually was changed to Batman Arkham Legacy. But anyway, with a working title like Arkham Apocalypse, it's needless to say that the city was going to be very run down, crime was going to be very rampant. Bruce Wayne was going to come back in the game as a mentor character, and Dick Grayson was also going to come back. And with the Court of Owls playing a pretty big role, that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know if there would have been dual play, or if he would have shown up as Nightwing, or if perhaps he would have been Batman for a while before Damian Wayne, and maybe Damian Wayne was Robin, like in the comics, and maybe they were going to build that into the continuity, that you had worked with Dick Grayson pretty extensively. And when you're working with the Court of Owls, Dick Grayson has familial ties to the Court of Owls and has a lot of interesting connections to them, so it makes a lot of sense that he would have been involved. There's not really much in regards to leaks concerning the other members of the Bat family, but I could have seen Oracle showing up. There were also some details about some of the gameplay and customization. You were actually going to have the ability to customize the Batcave. The game was going to take place over the course of multiple days, and instead of the Batmobile, you were going to drive the Batcycle around. So there are a number of things that you can kind of see were taken from this project and put into Gotham Knights when it was rebooted. The Batcycle, the Court of Owls. One thing that it does not appear carried over was actually the Nemesis system that you see in the Middle-earth, Shadow of War, and Shadow of Mordor games. And I think that that probably would have been reserved for the Court of Owls, although maybe that also would have involved the gangs of Gotham City as well, and just the whole criminal underworld. But I think that it would have fit very well, not only into a Batman game, but particularly into this Batman game, where Gotham's whole infrastructure and city systems are just completely failing, and the city is essentially turning into a no man's land. I do think that we would have seen similar gameplay to Arkham Knight, but again, we would have seen a bit of an evolution to it. There probably would have been new gadgetry and more futuristic technology for Batman to be using, and I think that ultimately this would have been a middle ground between Batman Beyond and the classic Batman mythology that we had just played through in the previous Arkham games. The game was in development hell for a really long time. They just couldn't quite seem to get this one to work for whatever reason. I don't know if they had almost completed it and then Warner Brothers just wasn't happy with what it was, or if they were having a lot of technical bugs and issues that prevented the game from releasing. But ultimately, this game was going to be announced at the 2016 Game Awards. It was going to show off the Nemesis system. It was going to show off that it was a different Batman and not necessarily as connected to Arkham as people would expect. And in the sense that it was further removed from a narrative perspective, 10 years after Arkham Knight, and that it was going to feature the Penguin. And then ultimately this plan clearly fell through, and then this Arkham game just never saw the light of day, which I do think is disappointing. I would have really liked to have seen it. I do think Gotham Knights looks interesting, but there is just something so ambitious about this Damian Wayne Batman game. Gotham Knights is ambitious in its own right, but I think that that game feels a lot more like a classic Batman story just without Batman, whereas the Damian Wayne Batman game would have had Batman in it, but it would have been a different character playing as Batman. And we would have kind of, again, seen that middle ground between the Arkham games that we had played and Batman Beyond. Not quite futuristic on the level where we're getting new rogues, but we would have seen a lot of these current rogues really aged up and different. And again, I would have been interested to see it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Would you have preferred this Damian Wayne game to Gotham Knights? Do you think we dodged a bullet? Either way, let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.